Hey everybody, it's Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich with your update on our potential snow late this week. Yes, there's probably going to be snow in the forecast, but this is a weird situation where you might have to go east to see more significant accumulations. I think in the Charlotte area, if we're going to see snow, the accumulations are probably going to be pretty light right now, and I'll show you why. Here's the setup. We've got a cold front heading our way today. That cold front's going to bring us rain. And again, this is the cold front that's going to bring the cold air. And again, there'll be some heavy rain tonight, maybe even a rumble of thunder as the front moves through. The front moves through and then stalls to our south. This is key because at the same time, high pressure out of Canada is coming over the Midwest. There it is. It's trying to push cold air in. The front has stalled here, and a wave of low pressure is going to form on the front. We call this a wave because it basically buckles the front back up and causes a storm to develop. This is the kind of setup we see when we get what we call overrunning. So here comes the cold air. This is the GFS model, by the way, and it's one outcome. And I'm going to show you why we don't look at one specific outcome, but I'm showing you just for the setup because there's some form of this in every piece of guidance. It just matters about location and strength. So as we go towards Thursday night, you can see it does show a rain snow line somewhere around Charlotte. It always is. Our high is back here. The low is forming off the southeast coast, and we're probably going to have cold air trying to come in. My biggest question mark here isn't so much about the moisture. I think there's going to be plenty of that. It's just a matter of how much. It's the position of the cold air. This cold air is not in an ideal spot for us, and the fact that it's coming in so quickly behind the first front is always kind of a red flag. But there should be enough that at some point, especially as the event goes on, it changes to snow. So I actually think a lot of this is probably bringing the snow too early. The snow will probably be more of a later thing. So I think a lot of this starts as rain. But notice the heavier amounts near the coast. There's snow over Charlotte, but it's pretty light. And that makes sense because this initial batch is probably going to be mainly rain. It's in and out quickly too. So this is happening basically from about 7 p.m. Thursday night to 7 p.m. Or 7 a.m., I should say, Friday morning. So it's in and out quickly. Now, the timing works good for snow because it's happening at night. It's colder, but it's moving quick. So if it isn't all snow, that it reduces the amounts. If there's mixing, it reduces the amounts. Clearly, the highest point of snowfall here is to our east right now, just based on everything lining up. Now, again, this is one piece of guidance. And again, the European model is not really gung-ho on this. And I'm going to show you here in a second. Let me bring up the Euro model. I think I have it right here. Just to show you how it's not as gung-ho. It's actually backed off quite a bit. And just to show you the discrepancy in the model. So this is Thursday night. Yeah, not as much moisture. Starts as rain. Moves out quickly. But notice the highlighted area where we're seeing the best snow band is still eastern North Carolina. This thing's out quick. You can see. So the Euro is like, maybe not so much. Looking at those ensembles, which are all the different variations of the European model, we'll look at the GFS here first, and it shows a pretty good cluster there, about 12 out of 21, for a grand total of about maybe 0.4 of an inch. The Euro, about the same, and this is the latest one. You know, you've got about 17 or 18 out of 51 for a grand total of about 0.4 of an inch. So they're actually pretty close when you look at the ensembles. That's why the deterministic, the models I just showed you, those are single runs. If you look at their ensembles, they kind of agree a little bit. About 1/4 to 1/2 an inch of snow if it's not melting on the way down. One other thing I look at is what I call the Schreff mean or probabilities. If you look at these, I'm going to show you these real quickly from WPC. They're kind of showing the same thing. You see the highlight here, eastern North Carolina, mountains, and kind of some snow for Charlotte, but kind of skipping over. I showed this briefly. Let me bring this up. These are the Euro chances of seeing 1 inch of snow. Notice what they're showing. Almost identical to what I just showed you from the probabilities. So you're getting an idea here. We've got these two little bullseyes with it kind of skipping over the Piedmont. In fact, that's kind of what I'm doing with my forecast right now, just based on chances of seeing snow. I'm not putting out a snowfall map yet. Maybe tonight, possibly the first one, if I see a couple more runs to give me some confidence. But this seems to be the bullseye area where I think we'll have a better chance of seeing snow. Maybe close to 1 inch back here, but here we're talking clearly less than 1 inch. It could accumulate, which is 1/10 of an inch or higher, but you're looking at pretty low probabilities overall for seeing significant snow. And just to show you the snow meter, it's still stuck at a 2, mainly because the impact will be low. If this is less than an inch, the impacts are not going to be huge, and a lot of it's going to fall overnight, and it'll be one of those things that will be social media talk more so than a big impact on roads. Clearly, there will be cancellations, delays. When everyone sees a flake, people freak out. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a low impact event. Typically, an inch or higher to me is a bigger event. That's 25% of our annual snowfall in one event. Those are the ones I look at for more significant precipitation. So here's a look at the Schreff mean, again, just to show you how all the guidance, and this is looking at probabilities of snow based on several runs. You can see the highlighted area here. Again, I would not read into the totals, but look at the location there. And then Charlotte, this is one of the higher totals, closer to an inch, but to me, it's still pretty high because when I look at the individual members of this for total snow, the mean is closer to about 0.3. These outliers are driving it high. The highest is 3. So you're looking at probabilities that are pretty low right now for, significant snow in the Charlotte area. Now, could things change? Sure, they could trend up or down. But I would caution you to be careful of the crazy outliers, the NAM, which people last night were like, look at this giant snowstorm, kind of like a week ago. That model, a run later, the precipitation was cut in half. It has what we call a terrible QPF bias, which is too much moisture. And the fact that it's jumping all over the place is a pretty good sign. Now, it's good for other things, but it tends to overdo the amount of precipitation. So right now, the timing of this is Thursday night into Friday morning. Again, 7 p.m., 7 a.m., and it looks like eastern North Carolina right now has the highest chance of seeing some significant accumulation in the Charlotte area. I would say our chances of seeing snow are pretty good. I'm going to have snow in my forecast, but I would not count on this being a big event right now unless something dramatic changes. And for that to happen, we would have to have this thing slow down. The heavier snow band has to shift west. So right now, the heavier snow band is here. If we want it over Charlotte, it has to be there. Got to be careful, though. If you're a snow lover, you don't want this trend to come back too far because then it starts pulling warm, moist air, and the heavy snow band shifts even farther west, and you start getting into rain. So those are things that could be a big monkey wrench in the snow lovers if you want to see snow around here. The other monkey wrench would be this cold air lags too far back to the west, and this ends up being much of nothing. This is primarily going to be rain, snow. Can't rule out some sleet. There's no ice set up in this right now unless something changes. It looks like a snow rain mix right now. And in the snow that does fall, it's going to be falling at temperatures that are probably going to be close to 33, 34 degrees, so just above freezing. So a lot of melting on the way down. The way this accumulates, folks, is heavy snow bands can overcome warm air at the surface and accumulate on grassy surfaces. So from an impact standpoint, I actually think that the impacts could be pretty low even in the heavier snow amounts. But because it's our first snow, it'll be on the ground. People just generally freak out regardless of how it actually impacts the road surface. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I will post updates over the next couple days, obviously. And of course, you can watch me 4, 5, 6, and 11 on NBC Charlotte, WCNC. We'll have you covered for everything we're keeping a track of.